What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So the Washington Wizards are now 2-8. That's the worst record in the NBA, and most people expect them to make the playoffs this year. I wasn't as optimistic about this team as maybe some other people were, but I damn sure didn't expect them to be the worst team in the NBA record-wise. 10 games into the regular season. There's a lot of blame to go around. Of course, Russell Westbrook. He gets a lot of blame. That's just how it is. Um, but it's not just him. Um, you could blame injuries. You could blame, to a certain extent, coaching. Scott Brooks. You could blame the biggest culprit probably is the lack of team defense. Maybe just the fact this team just isn't really together. And with that, you have to, I guess, to a certain extent, blame leadership. But defense has been the biggest culprit. They're a terrible team um, on the defensive end, and you could see that oftentimes with like the many leads that they blow, especially in the second half of games. I've seen Washington quit a couple games. It's I don't know, man. But like I said, usually, like if I'm looking at ESPN or Fox Sports or whatever, usually Russell Westbrook gets the lion's share of the blame. And, a lot of it, I guess, is warranted. I don't know exactly what's going on with Russell Westbrook this year, but his turnovers are up. He's not shooting the ball very well. In particular, from 2-point range, he's not shooting well at all. Um, in the past, he's never been a good overall shooter, but from mid range in, he's always been decent. You know, Now when you're a volume scorer like he was a couple years ago, he won the MVP award, your percentages are going to be lower. But this year, he's not shooting the ball as much, but he's shooting the ball worse than he's ever done in his career. He's lost his touch again from the foul line, which to me, I don't understand that one. He can't shoot. He's shooting only 38% from the floor. He's averaging something like 19 points and almost 10 rebounds and 11 assists. They sound nice, but it's not impactful numbers. Um, I honestly believe that Russell Westbrook is diminishing as a basketball player. Okay, and I think that's pretty much what the main thing is with him. He's not the same player that he was 4 years ago when he won an MVP, or 4 to 5 years ago when he won an MVP. He's not the same player. Um, that Russell Westbrook, even though he was criticized for averaging the triple doubles, those triple doubles were impactful. Even if they were inflated, they were impactful. I think something like 85% of the games that he had triple doubles, they won. So you can make the argument those triple doubles were impactful. Even most of his OKC career post Durant, when he was getting triple doubles, they were actually winning 80+% of those games. So you could say they were impactful. But since then, it might be he's forcing the issue with these triple doubles. Maybe he's being selfish. I give it to you, okay? Um, but it's not just him. It's not just him at all. Um, let's be honest. Washington really hasn't been shit since John Wall has been injured. The last 2 years before Westbrook even arrived, what were they like? 27 and 55 or something, or 24 and 58, 33 and 49 or something. They weren't a really good team. And let's not forget that Bradley Beal became the first player in NBA history last year to average 30 points a game and not even be named an All Star. So he wasn't on anybody's radar. As a matter of fact, most people saw him as a secondary piece that you could add to a championship team. Remember all the Bill to Lakers rumors? You know what I'm saying? So he's not this guy where, oh, okay, now all of a sudden he's a beast and he's being hurt by Russell Westbrook. No, he's just, to me, a glorified scorer. He's a guy that can put the ball in the basket, but he's not this superstar. History has shown that. World B. Free could put points up. He wasn't a superstar. He was an all-star, but he wasn't a superstar. And at this point, Russell Westbrook, like I said, he's a shell of himself, man. This guy, Russell Westbrook. I know a lot of people say I take up for him and all this shit, man. But as criticized as he is in the media, someone has to at least, you know, give him a little bit of leeway. Okay, a lot of criticism, I understand. But this is a man who I saw and said a couple of years ago when he was 31 that he was starting to diminish. Now he's to the point where he's a shell of himself. I think he's better off now at this stage of his career, maybe playing for a team coming off the bench, a well coached team coming off the bench. He'll have to cut off all that bullshit um, that he does sometimes. But at this point, I don't think he's a superstar anymore. He's not. Um, but these are the facts, though, about Westbrook, in my opinion. He's had at least 6 to 7 different procedures or operations done on his right knee since 2013. He's had multiple surgeries done on his cheek, his hand, fingers, dislocated fingers, um, you know, the whole shebang, all right? He did deal with COVID last year. Um, he had probably the biggest burden as far as a player the last couple of years carrying OKC after Durant left. I think all of these things, plus the way he plays, 100 miles an hour, fast pace, ever since he came to the NBA back in 2009, I think it was. I think what's going on now, or 2008, I think it was. What's going on now is we're seeing the inevitability of time with Russell Westbrook. He's falling apart, I think. You know what I'm saying? The mileage is beginning to show. So that's why I don't expect him to be able to carry a franchise anymore. He's incapable of doing it. He can't stay healthy anymore. Remember when he used to come out and have seasons where he was playing every goddamn game, averaging close to 40 minutes a game, back when he was playing with Durant, or the first couple of years he was playing after Durant? That guy's gone. Russell Westbrook is a guy that can't even seem to play 3 straight games anymore. That guy's done. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing I don't understand. If the media, people out there keep saying that, on ESPN or whatever, they keep saying that he's garbage and he's overrated, then why are you surprised when he's not performing at a superstar level? I don't understand that. But one thing I'm a little bit leery of, though, is shitting on him. I will note shit about him that is true, but I don't like shitting on Russell Westbrook because the media used to do the same thing with Allen Iverson. Now, I'm not comparing the two as far as talents. Allen Iverson is infinitely a higher tier player than Russell Westbrook. Allen Iverson proved that he could carry a team on his shoulders far into the playoffs. So I'm not trying to make that comparison with them talent wise, but I do remember similar talking points. AI's leading turnovers. He's reckless. All he cares about is his numbers. He's a head case. He's uncoachable. All this shit. They're doing the same things with Russell Westbrook. They also did the same thing and tried to do the same thing with Carmelo Anthony. He's uncoachable. All he cares about is his numbers. Blah 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 blah. Even though Carmelo was making all these game winners, you know what I'm saying, on mediocre teams and whatever. The media, they do this, okay? And people tend to parrot a lot of what they see on TV. So I don't watch that shit. Now remember, Paul George, Paul George, when he was playing with Russell Westbrook, was looking like an MVP caliber candidate. Russell Westbrook made him look like that. Now, at the same time when Russell Westbrook was playing with Paul George, Russell Westbrook was only averaging 20 points a game. Let Paul George have the floor. But what did you see in the media? Even though at one point they were third in the Western Conference in ranking and standing. Well, Paul needs help. Why? Why do he need help all of a sudden? Didn't you guys say he was shooting too fucking much? So at the end of the day, I'm like this with the team. It's a lot of it's Russell Westbrook's fault, but it's other people out there to blame too. Okay. Um, Scott Brooks, a C+ coach who needs talent around him to win. We saw that in OKC. We saw how Spoelstra outcoached him in the 2012 NBA Finals, even though he had a great team of his own. Scott Brooks is a guy that looks like a serial killer. I got that from Jesse. He does though, man. Scott Brooks is like a serial killer, but he's probably a nice guy. I remember when he was a player with the Houston Rockets come off the bench back in the '90s, but he's not a great coach, and we've seen that last couple of years when he didn't have John Wall there. Bradley Beal is not the type of player that you can build a team around. We've seen that the last couple of years. He put up a lot of points, but that doesn't necessarily mean he makes players around him better. And this version of Russell Westbrook, 2021 version of Russell Westbrook, no, he can't carry a franchise. He did at least carry the Thunder to the first round in 2017 with a team that he didn't really have any shooters at all on that team. I mean, the best scorer he had was Oladipo, and Oladipo didn't play well playing with Russ. I don't know. Other than that, he had no shooters on that squad, and he carried that team to the playoffs. So at the end of the day, I think what it is Russell's just not the type of he's not the player he was before. He's not, and they may need to just blow this team up, man. They may need to just quit while they're ahead, fire Scott Brooks, trade Bradley Beal. I don't know who wants Russ, but trade him while he still has some type of trade value. Maybe put him on some team. Honestly, man, I think Russell Westbrook would be best on a team where there's a dominant big man and some shooters around him. I honestly believe the best team that he could be on right now would be Milwaukee. You know what I'm saying? Even if it's in a part-time role. Um, I know it's a risk, but that's the best situation I think he could be in as a team like Milwaukee. Um, he's still a player that can be that can be dangerous in transition. He's still a really good, he's still a good passer. He's just a guy that he needs to be reined in. You know, he needs to be reined in, and I don't know, man. Look, maybe I have a blind spot for this guy. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I do know this: Michael Jordan likes him. A lot of the old school players like Russell Westbrook. There's something there, okay? But there are other things that hurt it. I know he has what people call a low basketball IQ. You know, to an extent, he doesn't make good decisions in certain times of court. He gets too caught up in the competitive aspect of the game. You know, but I do know this. I like the fact that he cares. I like the fact that you can never question his mindset coming into a game about wanting to play hard, and you can't question his professionalism. Those are things that are becoming sorely lacking in the NBA. So that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think.